Hello viewer, welcome to the session of MS Excel Macro 2010. In this session, we will go through the workbook events in VBA like open, activate, before close, before save, deactivate, new sheet. So these are the events. When we open the workbook, that is the one event. When we click on the workbooks, when the multiple workbooks are open, that is the one event. So when we close the workbook, so before closing, if we perform certain tasks, so that is the before close event. When we click on save button, so before saving the Excel, there needs to be certain task performed, that is the before save event. Deactivate, when we losing the focus from the workbook, so that is the deactivate event. New sheet, that means if we are adding the new sheet to the workbook, so that is the new sheet event. So this way, these are the events and we can perform tasks. We can write a code on each event of the workbook to do certain tasks. You can write the tasks like if you are doing a robust programming, if you are creating certain application, like you are dealing with the databases and you want to store the user log, so at that time you can use these events. If the workbooks are open, who has opened it, what is the name of, what is the time of the opening of the workbook, who has opened, who is the user. So all these kinds of activities we can do through the events of the workbook. So in this after this session, you will learn what are events of workbook in VBA, use of workbook event. First, we will go to the Excel workbook. In this case, I'll open the workbook events which I have already saved in XLSM form. Now, from here we will go to the developer tab. Just click on developer menu, and from here you can see the Visual Basic tab. Just click on it. Now we are placed into the Visual Basic editor. So for going to the workbook events, as you can see in the left panel, the sheet 1, sheet 2, sheet 3 and this workbook objects of the workbook. So we will click on this workbook. Now we are placed into the this workbook editor, and here you can see the drop down box displaying general, and besides that to the right side the declaration. So from the general we will click on the drop down list and you will see the general and workbook. So as we are going to deal with the workbook, so we will just select on workbook, just select it. Now you can see once we select it, by default the workbook open event is displayed here in the editor with the keyword private, then sub, and then the event name, and then the end sub. So between private sub and end sub, we can write the task to perform while opening the workbook. Now if we will click on the right side, as you can see here in this drop down, you will get a lot of events related with the workbooks. Like you can see activate, add install, add uninstall, after save, after XML export, after XML import, before close, before print, before save. So we will see few of these in this, so that you can have the idea of it, why we can use the workbook events. So now in this workbook open event, I am going to write certain codes which will perform, that means which will save the username in the workbook history file and the date and the date time. So this is the activity which we are going to write in the workbook open event. So we will see. Now I have just copied the code which I have already written here in the workbook open event. So I will explain the code now. As you can see, application.screen updating equals to false. This is nothing but when we provide this command as application.screen updating equals to false, that means the activities which is being done will be hidden. So you will see only the active workbook, that is this workbook wherein the code is being run, but you will not be able to see the task which this code is going to perform. That means you will see how I will explain you later. Now after that I have just written the workbook open command, that is workbooks.open, and as you can see I have given the path and then the workbook name here. And after that I am just writing that workbook.worksheet.sheet1.activate. That means after opening that file I am just activating the sheet 1, and after that workbook history.xls.worksheet.sheet1.range a1.select. That means I am selecting the cell A1. So now you can observe that I have mentioned the complete syntax for selecting the workbooks. If we will not do this, then you will get the error. So as we are opening the different workbook from this workbook, so we need to mention the complete syntax. That means for which file which worksheets need to be selected, from which file which sheet for which range needs to be selected. So you need to mention the complete syntax so that the application will not get confused, as we are dealing here with the two workbooks, like the active workbook which we are opening and the another workbook for which we are doing the task here from the workbook open event. Now after selecting the range A1, you can see I have written if active cell dot offset 1, 0 dot value not equals to blank. Meaning what I am doing here, so I'll go to the workbook first. You can see when that workbook, so we will open that workbook as well, workbook history. Now here you can see in the first cell, in the first row in cell A1 I have written username, then date opened, and then the time. So I am just selecting the A1, this one, by selecting the range A1. And after that you can see I am just checking active cell dot offset 1, offset by 1 row, that means the next cell I am checking, and the 0 column, that means in the same column I am checking for the next row if the value is blank. If it is blank, then what we will do, we will just place our cursor to the end of the cell data exists. So just providing this, placing this command selection.end Excel down, and then again dot offset 1, 0. So after placing the cursor to the last cell of the data, we will move one row next, that means where the cell is empty. So this is the syntax, this is the command which selecting the next cell after going to the last cell of the data and then selecting the next cell which is empty. And then in else part, if the next cell is not empty, then we will, if the next cell is empty, then we will directly select the next cell, and after that I'm just closing the end if. That means we have checked here with the if then else statement that if the next cell is not empty, then you need to scroll, you need to place your active selection to the last cell of the data, and after that the next cell which is empty. But if the next cell is empty, that means we don't need to press the control plus and button, control plus down arrow key, but we need to place the value directly to the next cell. So after that what I am doing here, active cell dot value equals to application dot username. So this is the command by which the username who has opened this file will get assigned to the active cell in the active cell. And after that you can see active cell dot offset, that means being in the active cell, but I am placing the value in the next column, that is in the column B. So that is what you can see, the row index is 0 but column is offset by 1, and then we are putting the date, and after that offset by 2 column, that means being the same row but the offset by 2 column. So we are putting in the column C the value now gives the date with timestamp, and after that we are just closing the workbook history. We are just saving the workbook history.xls, and after that we are just closing it, and then we are again making the application.screen updating equals to true. Now we will see. So first what we will do here, we will just comment these two lines, that is application.screen updating equals to false, and then the last one where we are making it again to true. Now we will just save it and close both the files. Now we will open the workbook event.xls, wherein we have written the macro, we have written the code on workbook open event. So we will see what is going to be performed here. So we will open the workbook events.xlsm. Now you can see the workbook events.xlsm, and before opening you have seen the blur of the Excel. That means behind the scene the Excel got opened and the data got placed into the sheet 1, and then it got saved and closed. But if we will place the command application.screen updating equals to false, then the blur, the Excel activities which is happening we will not be able to see that. That means that will be hidden. The Excel will do it in the background and we will not be able to see it, and this will not give us the performance issue. If the screen updating is true, then the activities of performing execution of the code will take time, as the activities are being displayed to the user. But if we will make it hidden, then it will do it faster for us. So this way we can assign. Now we will see what this activity has done for us. So we will just go and open that workbook history. Now you have seen the username, as in this case my name, that is Yes Yadav, and then the date opened, and then the time has been stored and saved, and this file was closed. So this way the activity has been done. Now we will close this and just go to the developer, Visual Basic, and now we will just uncomment the first line and the last line, and then we will close it again, close this workbook. Now we will open this workbook again. Just open it. Now you have seen this workbook got opened directly, and nothing, no Excel blur or Excel background has been shown to us. So this way we can write a workbook events and perform the certain task while we are creating like any meaningful application wherein we need to deal with multiples of workbooks, and we need to store the workbook events, the user logs into the databases, while we will be dealing with the databases like Oracle or MDF file like Access file. So in that, this will be very useful to capture the workbook events. So same way we can write the events on other one, like we can say, now we have seen the open, now we will see before close or before save. So for that you can see here the list of events. Now we will just click on before save. Now you can see with private sub and sub, the before save event is appeared in the editor. Now here we will write one message box. This is the save event, this is the before save event. Now we will close it. So you can see once I clicked on save button, so I got that message which I written in the before save event. That means before saving this file we will get that task performed which we written in the before save events. Now we will see before close event. So just go to the drop down, click on it, and Now we will select before close event. Here just click on before close event. Now you can see before close event is appeared in the editor. Just write any of the tasks. So in this case I'm just writing before message box. This is before close event. Now this way we have written the before close event. Now we will close this and we will just say, first we will say save. Now you can see before saving it is displaying us this is the before save event. Just OK. Now we will just close it. Now before closing it will prompt that event, that message which we written in the before close event. Now you can see this is before close event. So this way you can write a code on the events of the. So when you will be creating the applications for Excels and you will be dealing with the multiples Excels and you will be requiring to log the user log or the workbook events need to be captured into the databases at that time, these will be useful. So you must aware of the user workbook events. Thank you user.